I'm a hair mineral analysis expert. I have a background in functional medicine, and I educate people using HTMA testing to maximize health, erase debilitating symptoms, and gain energy. I'm a multi-time kettlebell sport world champion, and I'm constantly searching for high-performance pros from all over the world to bring you this human optimization podcast. My name is Lisa Pitel-Killah. Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Human Optimization Podcast, now brought to you by Vicon Supplements, your line for foundational performance custom supplements to help you live and perform better. Visit us now, viconsupps.com, and use LPK10 to get 10% off your orders. So I'm so excited to have here with me today, Dr. Joel Villeneuve. She is a licensed and board-certified naturopathic doctor based in Ottawa, who is the founder and clinical director of the Revive Life Clinic. She is also the author of the book, Power Foods 101, sharing her passion for nutrition, love of cooking, and commitment to advancing health research. Dr. Joel Villeneuve's pursuit of excellence, providing trusted care to her patients, and motivational coaching has defined her 25-plus-year journey as a highly respected naturopathic doctor practicing integrative natural medicine. She believes that each person's journey to wellness is unique, and that by taking time to listen to the body, it will give us the clues to what it needs. Dr. Joel, naturopathic doctor, strives to elevate complete healthcare by collaborating and referring to other health professionals, including traditionally trained medical doctors. So a big welcome to Dr. Joel Villeneuve, and she is going to take a few minutes just to talk about her background and her passion.
Thank you, Lisa, for having me. My name is Joel Villeneuve. I'm a naturopathic doctor, and I reside as the founder and clinical director of Revive Life Integrated Clinic. I have been in practice for over 25 years, and I'm often asked what the areas of interests are, and of course really it's health, but in particular it's longevity and hormone health. And I love to learn and challenge my brain daily, and I, as you, love to cook as well.
Yes. And it's funny because we've known each other for so long. I didn't even realize, probably for almost over a decade, I think, because I took one of your first cooking courses when we did the 6-week course. It was great. I learned so much. And so it's been a great journey, and we've definitely been in touch quite a long time. So I'm glad that you were here to join us today and share all about this amazing and such an important topic in the times that we're dealing with right now. And so we are all dealing with stress, right? We're dealing with a pandemic. We're dealing with uncertainty. We're starting to potentially see a light at the end of the tunnel, I think, at this point. But I want to dive into some foods with regards to supporting your body during stress. And so for those of you who don't know or don't have a copy yet, Dr. Joel has written a fabulous book called Power Foods 101. And that's available at any natural health food store. I see it all over. And so if you haven't got a copy, I'll make sure there's a link in the bio. So let's dive into those stress resilient foods.
Okay, great. Well, that's the neat thing, is that your kitchen can actually be a plethora of access to nutrients. And as we all know, food is medicine. So some of my favorites for stress management would be tahini as number one. Mm-hmm. And tahini, for anybody who is unaware, is made with ground sesame. And sesame seeds are very high in tryptophan, and tryptophan is a precursor to some key nutrients, including neurotransmitters and hormones, serotonin and dopamine. Mm-hmm. And serotonin, of course, is our happy hormone, and it also helps to regulate sleep. Interestingly enough, it's also associated with cravings. So when you're low in serotonin, you might be craving chocolate. So that's something to keep in mind. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that is our motivation neurotransmitter. And of course, with today's environment, people are feeling a little bit lack of motivation. Yeah. So, how do you like to use tahini? Let me ask you that, Lisa.
Yeah, so your rock salt Energive crackers, I love those. So I put everything on those, and tahini is definitely one of them.
Okay, amazing. So other ways to use tahini would be just make a dressing, use some lemon juice. You can add some garlic. You can also drizzle it in a soup to make the soup a little bit creamier.
Oh, now that's a new one. I didn't realize that. I'm going to try that for
Yeah,
sure.
so that's another simple way.
Mhm.
So number two, the second power food that I love for stress management would be pumpkin seeds.
Mm.
These little guys are super portable. You can grab a handful anytime. They're very nutrient dense in terms of magnesium.
Mhm.
And of course, magnesium helps at the same time, it helps to energize and it also helps to relax as well. So I like that combination.
Yeah.
And the other interesting fact is that chronic stress tends to deplete magnesium. So super important.
Mhm.
One of my favorite ways to include pumpkin seeds would be a super seed cereal.
Mhm.
And it just has three ingredients. You just toss together pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, and you've got your master mix. You throw a quarter of a cup in a bowl. You can heat it or have it cold,
Mhm.
and then just toss in some berries, whatever else you like in it.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. And you know, pumpkin seeds, I'll tell you, because I never want to be without a snack. Because a lot of times I'm on the road, I'm driving, and it's one of those things where you can just put it in your little, your little console, and then you just grab a handful when you're hungry, or if you're, you're going to be an hour or two before you get home, and then you're satiated, and it's a great snack.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, one of the third power foods that I love for stress management is moving over to matcha.
Mm.
So what happens, as you know, is that people tend to grab, that extra cup of coffee. They're feeling a little bit low energy. But as we all know, too much of anything is not a good thing.
Yeah.
And it can have the reverse effect. We can get jittery and then we burn through fuel and then we ended up being more tired.
Yeah.
So ultimately, what we want to do is think about something like matcha. And matcha is a ground green tea. So it has the whole leaf, it has everything in it. And the beauty about it is it's very rich in L-theanine, which helps to calm the nervous system. Research has actually shown that it helps us shift from the busy brain beta waves into the alpha and theta brain waves, which are energizing, alerting, but again, doesn't create that excess jitter.
Yes. And what a great antioxidant as well, right? Green tea is
Exactly.
fabulous. Yeah.
And I'm on
Excellent.
a little bit of a kick. They're called matcha muffins. And so you
Oh,
just take, your favorite muffin recipe.
mhm.
And I like buckwheat, using buckwheat flour. In my book, I've got blueberry gem muffins. Just throw some matcha powder in there, and you've got this great combination, which is again energizing but relaxing at the same time.
I love it. That's fantastic. And for those of you who make matcha tea at home, because I do love making matcha tea, you have to make sure you do it right with your little whisk, and it just gets it nice and frothy, right? Brings everything, all those wonderful nutrients to the surface so that you can sip on that, and it's fabulous. And so
Exactly.
let's talk about some superfoods. Like you've given us some really good foods, but I know that there's some that are going to be a little bit more specific. Let's talk about those. What do you suggest?
Okay, well, first on my list there is kimchi.
Mm,
And I'm Korean. And so, of course, I grew up with kimchi, but
yeah.
in particular, it's kind of hit mainstream now. And the reason why is it's a fermented food. And of course, with any fermented food like sauerkraut, kefir, etc., we're going to get those probiotics. And that helps us with the gut brain connection because 70% of serotonin at least resides in the gut,
Yeah.
probably closer to 90%.
Mhm.
And interestingly enough, they had one study where they looked at over 700 individuals, and those who ate more fermented foods regularly experienced fewer symptoms of emotional and mental stress.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible. That's a
Yeah,
that's a huge number. And again, we have to remember our gut is our second brain. I was just talking about this morning in intestinal permeability, and that all comes back around with how we eat.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, really great ways to include kimchi would be bibimbap, which
Hmm.
is basically a Buddha bowl, and you've got vegetables and you've got your kimchi included in that.
Mm.
And yeah, you can toss it on top of eggs. You can put it in a vegetarian, vegan hamburger. There's lots
Yep.
of good ways to include it.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And if for those of you who are local in Ottawa, the carp market is now open again, right? So that you can actually
Oh,
go. I didn't know that until someone told me last week. And there's a vendor there that has a fabulous kimchi they make, and it's spicy. I do like spicy foods once in a while, and it's fantastic. So if you get out to the carp market, if you're in Ottawa, you can definitely find them there.
excellent. Love it, love it, love it. So one of my next favorite foods is avocado. And I'm sure you'd agree with me that avocado is amazing. Well, number one, it tastes great.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, it's really healthy. It's a healthy fat. And so what that does is that helps to satiate us, and it gives our body and brain fuel so that we are less likely to crave those sugary snacks. And we
Yes.
all know those highs and lows that come with those sugary snacks. So,
Yeah.
avocado as just mashed up as a guacamole, or I like to throw it in my smoothie, or use it to make a creamy dressing. So it tastes like you're having something rich and creamy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's actually plant based.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite ways, I want to share this one because I can actually
Please.
get my husband to eat avocado this way, is use cacao powder, which I love,
Yep.
and mix it in your blender with the avocado, and it makes like a chocolate pudding. You can put a little bit of natural honey in there for a sweetener. It's fantastic. Yeah.
I love it because, of course, we want to be kid friendly, whether the kids are
Exactly.
small or adults.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we want to do healthy, but of course, we want things to taste really yummy too.
Exactly.
So, okay, the next power food, let's say, for stress management would be
Mhm.
cherries.
Oh.
And cherries in particular, Arceola cherries contain 2 times the vitamin C as your typical citrus fruits like lemon and oranges.
Mhm.
And vitamin C is very important for being an antioxidant. It's required for the adrenal glands. And there is additional research that suggests that it's really important for mental and emotional stress too.
And yeah, so vitamin C is so important for the adrenals, and the adrenals are the glands that first respond to our stress. And so we do have to make sure that we're supporting them with everything that we can when we're under stress, and especially when it becomes chronic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So I've got 2 more foods.
Sure.
So number one, sweet potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of people are trying to eat, lower carb, and that becomes important for metabolism. But we want to make sure that we still maintain some base of healthy carbs.
Absolutely.
Because again, our brain hormones and neurotransmitters require some degree of healthy carbohydrates. So nutrient dense carbs, what they do is they actually help to reduce cortisol. And sweet potatoes in particular contain vitamin C and extra potassium.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're having any cramps, or you're, experiencing any kind of, if you're training a lot, you're going to be potentially sweating. And so you want to make sure you replace your electrolytes.
Yeah.
So fun ways to use sweet potatoes is sweet potato toast. So,
that sounds
right?
interesting.
Yeah. So basically, it's super easy. You just cut the potato, you stick it in the toaster, and literally in a minute, you're done. And yeah, and then
How
you
have I
can
never heard of
it.
this?
I know. And
What?
then you can make it savory. You can have your, like an avocado toast. You can put your egg if you are eating eggs.
Yep.
You can add some avocado, tomato, drizzle some olive oil, basil. You're good to go.
Love it.
Yeah. And then if you want to do a sweet version, well, then you could do your traditional peanut butter and jam,
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm definitely going to try that. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah. So there you go, sweet potatoes. And then our last food that we're going to highlight today is shellfish. I know that people may have mixed feelings on. What we know about shellfish is that they contain lots of amino acids, which are the building blocks for protein. And we could include things like oysters, mussels, clams, and they contain an amino acid called taurine. And taurine helps to improve mood and is the foundation for additional neurotransmitters. So that's why we will add shellfish to the menu. Yeah.
Love it. And you know what? It's funny because this has come up twice today, so it must be in my universe. And that is, so there's a study that was done years ago, and some of the oldest living individuals from Okinawa. And the one thing that they had in common outside of a certain peptide that they were all high in, taurine was the other one. And they have the most per capita of people that are over 100 years old. So that's a really amazing fact. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we've got all these great nutrients in foods, but sometimes foods aren't enough. So then we can maybe have a conversation about supplements.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there really are a list of supplements. And I think one of the hardest things for people is they really don't know what to pick because there are so many options. And
Yeah.
so, there is a group called the adaptogens, right, that kind of fall under a category. And I really think that people need a little bit of clarification because they don't all work in the same manner. So let's touch on a few of the popular ones that people might be looking at.
Sure. So when it comes to adaptogens, what we want to do is just help people understand what an adaptogen is. So in modern medicine, when you give a medication, there's a very specific response, and it's going to potentially create, like, let's say you're hypothyroid. If you're taking Synthroid, it's going to create an elevation in thyroid function. Now, with adaptogens, the beauty about them is that they are seen in the body almost like food, and the body will assimilate and utilize what it needs, and it will upregulate or downregulate according to what your body needs. So that's the beauty about adaptogens. And then some of the really common ones that people are kind of buzzing about right now is maybe we can talk about maca first.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, maca is used as a food. A lot of people are adding it to smoothies, and it does have the ability to support the adrenal glands. And I think in particular, people are kind of interested in it because it actually does help to support libido. So if you're kind of feeling out of sorts, maca could be a good addition. But I do encourage everybody before they start an adaptogen to touch base with a healthcare professional, especially if you're using medication, because there are some interactions and we want to be careful about that. So that would be one. And then another one would be, let's say, rhodiola. So rhodiola is a great adaptogen that helps to balance, again, the nervous system. And research believes that, again, it can help mitigate the impact of the degree of stress that one experiences. And that's always helpful. And the only thing that we want to keep in mind is that rhodiola does stimulate the immune system. So if somebody is using immune regulating medications, we'd want to be careful about that. Holy basil is a really nice adaptogen, and it's really good for the busy brain. So that's going to be somebody who really has trouble sleeping and they've got lots of active thoughts on their mind. And so it could be a very good option. As a naturopath, we would double check. And again, we're about measuring and monitoring. So we're going to do lab tests before and after to make sure we're watching some of these markers. But those individuals that are taking blood thinners, and a lot of our cardiovascular patients need to be very careful with holy basil. So that's a caution. Now, probably one of your favorites is ashwagandha. And ashwagandha is a great adaptogen. It can help support thyroid and adrenal function. And the thyroid and adrenals actually work together. And it's like the adrenal glands are the first responders when a person's under stress. And the adrenal glands will help regulate energy, respond to that. But if you're under chronic stress, eventually the adrenal glands get tired. And that's where the backup organ, the thyroid, steps in and says, let me just slow down everything so that you're actually forced to rest. Because when the thyroid is hypo in its function, one of the common symptoms is fatigue. So ashwagandha is a great adaptogen because it accommodates and supports both. It helps to support the adrenal gland as well as the thyroid. Something to keep in mind is that it can stimulate testosterone too. So if somebody's had a history of having hormone issues and let's say maybe prostate, maybe we'd want to double check that. And because it relaxes the nervous system, somebody who's on ADHD meds, we might want to be careful as well.
Good point. Yes. And so again, some great additional support out there. But if you are looking for something specific, if you're feeling a certain way, then that's when you really need to get in touch with a natural health practitioner or a naturopathic doctor, just so that you can have the proper advice and get the testing that you need to make sure that you're actually getting what's best for your body. I think that's really, really important. And so Outside of what people are ingesting, what are some of your kind of go-to stress relieving tactics that people can just easily put into their day every day?
Okay, that's a great question. I mean, first of all, it's great to understand what stress is.
Yes.
And stress is actually a perception of a dangerous and threatening situation. So, step number one is addressing our mindset. There is a great book. It's written by Carol Dweck and it's called Mindset. And it just talks about, for example, if somebody's going to write an exam, person A may go into the exam thinking, I have to get a 90 because that gives me the grade, which gives me the program, the job, the white picket fence.
Yeah.
And so they're really functioning in a state of anxiety versus person B who goes into the exam knowing it takes about 10,000 hours to be very good at anything. I've studied, I've gone to class, this is a subject that I'm interested in. And if for some reason a person doesn't get the 90, that they've got a plan B. And
Right.
they will get a tutor or they'll take the class again. And again, we have to remind ourselves that a whole part of life is learning.
Right.
And learning's not perfect. So so the first step is just got more of a growth. It can be anything you like. It can be, after this podcast, I'm going to head out and do a kayak. So it can
wonderful.
be that. It can be it can be just reading a book. It can be doing your nails. For guys, it could be, playing a round of golf or going for a cycle or just shooting the breeze with some guys. So just really, but the thing is it has to be regular. So it's not something that, I had a day to myself, 6 months ago, but it's like every Sunday,
exactly.
Let's say Sunday fun day or, something like that. So number 2 is self-care. Number 3, I know you can resonate with this one. It's fitness.
Oh, yes.
And, fitness does so much. It is more powerful than certain medications. And especially with regularity, it can set the tone for the day. It doesn't have to be anything extreme. It may be getting up and doing some yoga. Yeah. It may be going for a walk. But certainly HIIT has been researched to be the most effective with respect to balance of cardiovascular strength and yin, which is basically stretching. So love fitness. Check.
Yep. We're like, check.
And then fourthly, I'd say human connection. Because when you and I are having a conversation, we're looking at each other, that human eye connection helps to release oxytocin. And oxytocin is your cuddle and your, happy hormone. And it helps to counter the effects of cortisol. Yeah. So now we're living in this world where maybe we are feeling more isolated with respect to human connection, but we've got these amazing platforms that we didn't have 10 years ago. Exactly. And, like, for example, we have our regular family dinner on Sundays with my brother and sister-in-law in Sweden.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
yes.
We have lunch, they have dinner. Yeah. If anyone wants to check out my Instagram feed at Dr. Joel ND, I've also initiated international night with some friends. And so every Saturday, well, actually at the beginning of the week, we send out the information, recipes, a video. We even have a contest. You can win a prize. We ask questions from the video and that helps people pay attention. And we even get dressed up. We have a theme for,
I love it.
Yeah, Italy. It's Milan catwalk. So the girls get dressed up and the guys are pretty casual.
I feel like that's the norm and that's okay.
Yes.
So right.
That's all good. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, but that's fantastic.
These are the tools. Yeah, these are the tools that we have, and we have to get creative. And they've actually done studies with individuals who were in concentration camps. And what they found is that if people kept on thinking that things were going to change to it, so their outcome tended to be less positive. Whereas if people said, okay, I'm going to make the best of it and I'm going to plan to be here for a month, 6 months. And they actually started doing things day to day. Then eventually what ended up happening is their spirits generally were higher because they were actively doing things. And we can see with COVID, what's happened is we've gotten excited and then things shut down and then we're out again and then things get shut down. So my recommendation would be to plan for the next 6 months and just plan for it to be as status quo. Certainly not being housebound, but just, being generally cautious and just get out there and do things that make sense.
Yeah. And that you enjoy, whatever that is, even if it's just going for a walk every morning with the dog or whatever. I think that's so important. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so one of the things too, and I know I dealt with this a little bit right at the beginning of the pandemic when there was a lot of uncertainty, was not being able to sleep. Right. And as soon as we can't sleep, then all of a sudden, we're suffering from all the symptoms that come with the lack of that. And that can be really debilitating and upsetting for the GI system and everything involved there. So, I mean, how do you help people when they come to you with that issue and just say, I just can't sleep and now I'm super tired?
Yeah, so first of all, what we're going to remember is that our circadian rhythm and our daytime hormones and nighttime hormones are managed by light, first of all. So ideally, upon rising, you want to get at least 30 minutes of sun, and you can either do that outdoors or use a light therapy lamp. If you're using a light therapy lamp, you want to look for one with 10,000 lux. And then at the end of the day, around 6 o'clock, what you want to do is you want to actually work on actually dimming your lights. So just getting your mindset into like winding down and then just having a nice routine where you're not on the computer until 11 o'clock at night if you want to go to bed. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Or TV. Right?
Exactly.
Shut the TV down, have a nice nighttime routine where you have some downtime or some reading or something at low light so that you're not having that blue light right until you're going to bed.
Exactly. And when people are really in a difficult state and they're really waking up a lot, it might take 2 hours to wind down in the beginning. And we have to create regularity because the body likes a regular routine. And once we start doing that, we start getting better by, like one less waking at night or just a little bit easier to fall asleep. And then it just continually gets better.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that.
But another simple thing that we can do is we can also promote a supplement, such as magnesium, either by food, a handful of pumpkin seeds, or using a magnesium supplement. And again, that's just going to relax the nervous system.
Absolutely. Yes. And it's interesting too. And so, I mean, a little bit off topic, but with regards to, I hear a lot of people that have restless leg syndrome, and that's directly related to magnesium deficiency, right? So if you're laying down trying to go to bed at night and your legs are, you feel like you can't relax, then, that's something that you should think about.
Absolutely.
And so let's talk about what in your practice, because the office is still operating, obviously, at whatever comfort level, right? People want to come into the office. And, what kind of modalities, I guess, are there for anyone dealing with that anxiety and that stress?
Okay, so first of all would be just taking time to understand what's going on with the person. People are often very, they want to rush to the solution right away.
Right.
But we can't find the right solution unless we take time to understand what the root cause is and what the proper diagnosis is. So we just want to spend some time, number one. Number two, we also want to make sure that we do some testing. So there's different types of tests that are available. For example, let's say maybe top 3 to talk about would be number 1, the organic acid urine test. And what that's looking at is that's assessing neurotransmitters, select nutrients, digestion, detoxification, energy production markers. So that's a very good general test. And then number 2, we could look at nutrients. Sometimes a simple deficiency in a nutrient, for example, vitamin D, creates achiness in the joints, mood changes, sleep issues, could be that. Maybe vitamin B5, because that's required to bind to cholesterol and make all your hormones. Vitamin B6 is required as a cofactor in the conversion of tryptophan to serotonin to melatonin. And then vitamin B12 and magnesium. So, could be nutrients. And then number 3, hormones, because we have a reduced adaptation if our hormones are out of balance. For example, low progesterone creates more irritability. It tends to interfere with our sleep. And then it also causes water retention. And then for the guys and or girls, if you're low in testosterone, that can create more lack of motivation. Low estrogen can also cause depression and sleep issues. So that's why, thirdly, we want to examine and explore hormones.
Absolutely. And I know that one of the things you do, and I really think that this is would be a big help, so I want to hear your thoughts, is just with regards to utilizing a modality such as acupuncture.
Yes, thank you. Yes, acupuncture is a modern yet traditional type of therapy that takes into account the balance between the body and the environment. So in Chinese medicine, it's about balancing qi, which is basically energy flow. There's approximately 12 different meridians in the body, and by doing pulse and tongue assessments, we can understand what the imbalances are, and then the therapeutic action of using acupuncture creates that improved balance.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, some of the things to think about is if somebody is feeling anxious and stressed, they have a lot of yang energy. And it would be about balancing the yin energy and avoiding things like cold wind invasion, because wind invasion stimulates that nervous system again. And so we want to tone down the nervous system. And we may be talking about warming foods as well, because if a person's adrenally fatigued, they may be very cold, and we want to, just create a better sense of balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that is one, acupuncture, I definitely for fitness and just overall stress on the body, I hands down, that's definitely put me back together many, many, many times. So I highly recommend that if you've never tried it. And obviously, again, making sure you're reaching out to somebody who understands your situation so that you can get the right help that you need. And so let's talk a little bit more about Revive Life and what people can find there and how you can help.
Our website is revivelifeclinic.com, and we are an integrative center. So we have chiropractors, we have nutritionists, naturopaths, counselors, IV therapy. That's another thing that we didn't necessarily highlight, but when a person is stressed and anxious, yeah, IV therapy can be amazing, because sometimes the digestive system gets irritated and then we get lack of absorption of nutrients. So by using IV or IM therapy, we get a nice large infusion of nutrients, which can really help improve a person's energy and help to calm that nervous system as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I completely forgot that you offered that. And I definitely think that is really great, especially again, when you're under stress, if it's chronic, and if you're not feeling like yourself, that is a really great way, because a lot of times we are looking at some type of intestinal issues or digestive issues. And then we're not absorbing and assimilating those nutrients that we're actually taking in. And so I think that's a great jumpstart.
Exactly. Yeah. So if people want to be in touch, they can book their appointments online. They can book a complimentary consultation to ask a few questions if they want. And so we try and make things as accessible as possible. And we are also willing to just adapt to whatever you feel comfortable with. We offer Zoom appointments, telephone appointments, and then in-person appointments as well.
Amazing. And so for those of you watching or listening, I'm going to have all of that in the description of how you can find Dr. Joel Villeneuve at Revive Life Clinic, along with all the other modalities that are available there. And so thank you so much for joining us again and just providing us with such great information that we can really use today to help combat all the stress that we are under. And so for those of you watching on YouTube, we have a brand new episode every 2 weeks. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and give us a thumbs up. And if you're listening on your favorite
Thanks for listening
host,
to today's show. Head over to LisaPitel-Killah.com to gain access to some amazing free resources that will help you gain energy, erase debilitating symptoms, and be the best version of you. Remember to give this podcast a like and follow me on social media at Lisa Pitel-Killah. I'm here every 2 weeks with a brand new episode of the Human Optimization Podcast. Until next time.